So why don't you tell us about a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started in cybersecurity?
Sure. A little bit about me. Actually, I am originally from Africa. Let me actually start there. We came to this uh, country in 2008. I remember it was August 15th, 2008. And when we came here,
My name
um,
is
I didn't know how to say good morning in English. I'm sure you've seen the post. Seems like a lot of people are liking it. But I didn't know how to speak the language, let alone good morning. I didn't know how to say hi in English. So got here at the time I think it was like 15 going to 16 when we got here. So we we landed here. Nobody knew how to say anything. And my parents um, didn't had a chance to go to school, so they don't know how to read or write. So when we got here, we had to read the letters. In Africa, we were in the refugee camps, and the whole setup there it's different than here. You didn't have anybody sending you letters that you have to read, right? So when we got here, we had to start reading, power bill and uh, water bills and stuff. So we went to high school. When we got here, they put me in the ninth grade, and that's where the kind of the journey started. So the first time I saw a computer, I got really, really attached to that thing. And then somehow I convinced my daddy to buy me one, actually to buy us one, because it's seven of us, it's seven kids. So he bought one, and at the time we enjoy watching TV, listening to some of the African music. So I used to record stuff from um, DVDs into VHS, so that you know this was my mom's tasks. The DVD keep getting stuck, and that she liked the cassette better, so she had me recording those things over. So this one time, then the computer died, right? The DVD drive died, and I couldn't record anything. So I went to Walmart, buy the thing, come back, and I wanted to just, put it together. So I opened up the computer. That was a habit of mine. If a bike dies, I just fix that thing. It come to me that easy. So I opened up the computer. Then what I found inside really fascinated me. I found some wires were not connected. I found some things inside of a computer that blew kind of my mind. I was like, okay, is this the thing that I used to do everything I've been doing all this time? So the fascination came from there. Then when I finished high school, I had an issue with the language, of course, like I said. So I said maybe the first step is to learn the language. So I started like watching YouTube videos on how to pronounce stuff. Um, so I would do a lot of that. I'll pick up some books, try to read and look up some of the words on Google and stuff. Uh, so I graduated from high school, then went to college. And when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I said, my parents never had a chance to go to college. So I had a counselor in high school who was like, college is not for everybody. Go try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, so be it. I said, okay, well, let me just try it for 2 years. So I went on and get associate degree, registered to get associate degree. Then after 2 years, I was like, not so bad. Then I went back and they got me a bachelor's degree in network management. Um, but before I even get into network management, I went to school for business administration. I did that for about 3 months because the idea was when I talked to my parents, they were like, oh, maybe we can start like a little, African shop. So just go to school for business. So then that's what I did. But after 3 months, I said, no, it's not happening. Um, so I switched the major to network. The associate degree was a network engineer. So I did that when I graduated with a bachelor's degree, I want to say a little bit lucky throughout the process. Before I graduated, I met a guy who was from Liberia. That's West Africa. I'm from East Africa, Tanzania. Um, so I met a guy who basically I looked up to. He became my mentor. I started asking him a lot of questions, and he had been in IT for a while, like 20 some years. So I started asking him, I'm like, hey, where do you see this thing going? I really like computers. I'm interested. Like, I can't really stop. I cannot stop using a computer. So he was like, hey, look, cybersecurity. This is back in 2000. I want to say 15. So when he was like, you know what, cybersecurity is the place to be. It's growing. Everybody will need some sort of a protection from these cyber criminals. I said, let me give it a try. I did, and looks like I became glued to it. So that's kind of the whole journey to getting into cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. That's one of probably my favorite part about doing this show is just hearing different people's stories. I mean, because it's just so interesting to see where they came from, and it's awesome that you got the opportunity to come here and that through your experience of having the computer at home inspired you to want to follow that path. So that's really great, and it sounds like you have a really supportive parents. So that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. But actually, that's one of the other thing why I was able to do what I am doing. Part of it's because of my parents. They came here not knowing the language, so they started doing some of these factory jobs. And my dad used to come home with, like we had to do something to his back because it was really that bad. And one time he sat us down, he was talking to us, and then he said, if any one of my children goes to school, I will rather sell my pants. Literally, he say that. I would rather sell the last pair of my pants to put them through school. And when he say that, that was like the woke up moment for me. I was like, okay, here is a guy who never had a chance to go to school, but he've lived with some of the educated people and have seen how the world treated these individuals. So to me, that was the wake up moment. And that's what got me into be like, okay, I got to get this school thing right. I went on, I got me a bachelor, I got me a master's degree in cyber. Got like 10 plus certifications. I was like, I'm going and I will try this. I will do whatever it takes to make it work. But also maybe at some day retire my parents, right? Cause, like I said, they you kind of don't have much, but they had the unconditional love, and when they cannot provide for themselves, I want to be there for them. So I want a better career, so I can be able to do exactly just that.
That's really great, and they set a good example for you. So as far as career advice goes, a lot of our listeners are trying to get into cybersecurity, and that's one of the focuses of the show. The stories like yours is just awesome because I am sure there's people that are going to listen to the show that can relate to your story. But if you had some advice, based on your experience, what you did to learn cybersecurity, what would you recommend for someone else if they're wanting to get into cybersecurity? How should they start that journey? What kind of education recommendations do you have?
Um, a lot of the education now is freely available online. So my biggest advice to anyone would be find a mentor. Find somebody you look up to, who been there, who've done that, not just, these YouTubers, but someone who've done it, who've lived it, and ask for their guidance. Right now, it's a lot easier than before. I remember when I was so getting started, I used to reach out to I anybody really I can reach out to. I remember one day I reached out to the guy who created Metasploit, SD Moore. And I was like, hey, sir, if you even have 10 minutes to respond, like 1 minute to respond, I'd appreciate it. But if you were to start in cyber, how would you do it? And then he got back to me. He said, you could do this. This is what I did. This is what I did. So I would say if you're just getting started, find someone who's where you want to be and then ask for their guidance. As far as education goes, a lot of the content, it's freely available online. And cybersecurity is one of those things that you want to be able to self-study, right? Because even after you've gotten the job, the study doesn't stop. You got to keep learning. But you can shorten your path into your job by getting somebody who've done it to guide you in the whole process. The other reason why I say that, Philip, is that when you're getting started, you don't know where to begin. That's me back in the days. I used to just Google stuff like, okay, what is the highest paying certification? And then I find something online, then I go take that certification. I've even taken certifications that I've never used. Like at some point I took the IDO or ITIL certification, which I've never used it, just because some online article recommended that, you will make more money by having the certification. So getting the guidance so you can learn this the right way. Cybersecurity, a lot of people, love it because you can, make money, all that good stuff, but it's not a foundation career. So you want to get the foundation right. You're going to be securing network systems. You're going to be securing computers. So you want to start there by learning the foundation first. The mentor will guide you into that process if they're really good mentors, right? So they will tell you the right way to go by learning this. Try to do it by yourself. You can, but it's going to take you a little longer. So like I said, find a mentor, get involved in the community, and then, put yourself out there, really. What I notice in cyber, everybody loves to help. That I've noticed. I don't know why, but everybody you reach out to, they will get back to you with some sort of help. So just seek help when, especially since you're getting started.
That's some great advice. And I know you mentioned, you've got degrees, you got certifications. Do you think that's required for someone to get into cybersecurity?
That's one of those questions that different professionals are going to answer, kind of differently. Well, one of my passion is to teach. So I enjoy giving it back to the community. And what I notice, if you don't have a certification or some sort of a degree, universities gets a little bit hard for you, to hire you. Because if you're going to be, teaching undergrad students, they want to make sure you have the undergrad degree and the certification that you're going to be teaching. So for me, because I noticed that early on, that's what fueled the passion of getting the certifications, right? That reason. So, but for someone who's just getting started, I know a lot of people would say, oh, certifications are better than degrees and this and that. But I want to say if you have the opportunity to get both, go for it, right? Get the certification, get the degree, The job that I have right now, I won't have the job if I didn't have my master's degree, because they wanted someone with a master's degree. But you want these people who don't know you to hire you, and they don't trust the things that you're telling them. If you show up to them and be like, hey, I know these things, I know that, those things, the question they ask is, how do we know you know what you're talking about? And then degrees and certifications serves as the testimony to your skill set, tells them, hey, look, I've struggled for 4 years to get this, this degree, at least, let's start there, right? So if you have the opportunity to get both. What I did, I went with the WGU, Western Governor University, which is like a competence-based kind of a university where you don't have to spend the 2 years, the 4 years, right? you can just spend about, like, I finished my master's degree in 6 months. Right? That's how long it took me. So there are the education system is changing. All right. And you can find, if you're worried about spending too much money, heck, I spent about $4,000 to get my master's degree. So there are, schools and systems that you can use. What I recommend is, if you have a way of getting both, go for it. But a lot of employers tend to look at the certifications because they expire, right? Because if you had a degree in 2000s, the technology, it's different. But if you have an up-to-date certification, that tells them you've kept up with the technology as well. So I recommend both.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how quickly people get degrees through WGU, but it's really kind of nice. I went there for a while before I started teaching at Dallas College, and then I had to discontinue my studies. But it's amazing. I just really like that format, that you're not wasting a lot of time, and everything you're taking, most cases are going to help you out. Like maybe like the ITIL stuff and like that, you may not need it, but some of that's more useful than some of the things you take in a 4-year university.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, see, one of the things that I really learned was that the best investment anybody can make is in themselves. Once you got the knowledge, nobody can take that away from you. So even if you get the certifications that you probably don't need, or the knowledge that you think you don't need, quote unquote, you never know when that's going to come back. Where that piece of paper is going to be, it's going to be what they're looking for. So if you get the opportunity to learn something, I always take that opportunity and learn that thing, even if I might not need to use that knowledge for the time being.
Yeah, that's kind of a good approach. It's better to know too much than not enough.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I got this one from Will Smith, the actor. He usually famously said, "If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready." Um, I recently took the CISSP. My job doesn't require the CISSP. Right? I don't need that thing right now, but it's one of those things that I know I need it, kind of a moving forward. So again, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
That's a great quote, and that's good advice to live by, because there's always these times you're preparing for an interview, and if you just really didn't keep up to date or learn these certain areas that maybe you knew you should have, when it comes time to prepare an interview, then you have to cram to get ready for that, to get ready for a job interview or to learn that skill for your job.
Yes. And cybersecurity, it's on a um, ever learning career. Like, you got to keep learning. That's one of those things that fascinates me about cyber, because I love learning. Right. So every time you wake up, you go to work, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a ransomware attack. It could be someone, banging the network that, doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So every day you get to do new stuff. So you are constantly learning. Actually, that's another advice that I'll tell people who are looking to get into the industry. If you don't enjoy learning, this is probably not the best career for you, because you're going to keep learning. The moment you stop learning, um, you start dying. That's what this other guy said. If you stop learning, you start dying. And the cybersecurity, it's the same way. You got to keep up with the changing of the cyberspace.
Yeah, that is so true, because you think about the level you're at, and that's one of the things to think about certifications. If someone's going through like the OSCP certification, maybe you did really good and you can hack all these different systems, but then if you're not once you quit putting in that effort, you'll lose what you have. It's almost like when it comes to sports or something. So like if you're a really good soccer player and maybe you took a season or two off, you're not going to be as good as you were unless you're continuing to practice somehow. And, cybersecurity is a lot like that.
I would agree. I would definitely agree to that. Um, you got to keep your skills sharp. Besides, there will be a lot of things when you're working that you do not know. That's another thing about cybersecurity. You got to know how to find stuff. It's one of those skills that I've learned when I got into the industry. Constantly, Googling stuff. I'm like, Jesus, I thought I know this stuff. But it's a nature of the work that we do.
And, a lot of people I come in contact with that want to get into cybersecurity are always asking me, do I need to know how to code? So do you think people need to know how to program if they want to start a career in cybersecurity?
Yeah, that's another great question. I don't really think they need to know how to code or program. Um, I don't even think they need to learn that from the beginning. It's a great skill uh, down the line if you want to automate some stuff, which you have to do, down the line, of course. So I recommend usually, and I got this one from John Strand, the guy who used to teach at the SANS Institute, Black Hills Information Security. He literally said, okay, if you're going to be learning how to code, at least, and not even coding, it's more like scripting. Do that in a year 4 to year 5 when you're in the industry. So the people who are just getting started, I will CC to what John said. You don't really want to learn that stuff yet. And then learn the skills that will help you break into the industry, the skills that the hiring managers are looking for. And then once you get hired, whenever there is a task that repetitive tasks that you keep doing over and over again, then you can learn how to code and learn how to automate that. You can learn how to script in PowerShell and Python and Bash. Those are the, 3 common ones. You can learn how to script that stuff. But really short answer to that, I would say don't learn how to code when you're just getting started. Leave that stuff for later. Whenever, like once your job needs it, or once you become, let's say, like a senior levels type of a person, let's say like a tier 3 SOC analyst. Yeah, then you're going to need to be automating some stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. And sometimes people get too bogged down on trying to learn how to program because, it's not easy to do. And you can get so tied up in that, you're not spending your time learning other things that you need for right away or just to get a job or for your current job. And especially like with the pen testing, people will see that and they'll say, well, do I need to learn how to code? But, then you spend all this time coding, you're not learning to pen test. And that kind of slows down, your actual goal to begin with.
I agree. When you're getting started, your number one goal, number 2 goal, number 3 goal is to break in. So just learn the stuff that you need to break in, which is like, that's why I started with the mentor. You need to find a mentor, someone who can, you can learn from their mistakes. That way you don't have to make the same mistakes.
Well, we're getting down towards the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't discussed?
Well, I would say, for anybody who really want to get started into cybersecurity, get in. Don't second guess yourself if this is going to be your passion or not. Often people use those words. Get in because there's always something for someone. There's a lot of different tracks in cybersecurity. Whenever people say cybersecurity, it's like healthcare. What are you going to do in healthcare? Same thing in cyber. Like you mentioned, your wife doing forensic. There's different career tracks in cybersecurity. And no matter what your passions are, you can do security for whatever that passion is. If you enjoy music, well, do security for a studio, right? Like whatever your passion is, you will be able to do security stuff for what you're passionate about. And we are very understaffed. That's why, people getting paid a lot of money right now. So we need all the help that we can get. So if you were thinking about getting in, just get in.
Yeah, that's some great advice. Don't wait too long. Get in. There's a lot of opportunity. Really glad that you were able to join the show. I appreciate your time. You have an amazing story, and I'm glad I got to hear it. I'm glad I'm going to get to share it with our listeners.
Thank you, Philip. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you. I look forward to more of these.
Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hacker Factory podcast with Philip Wiley. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.